It has been a long 16 years since we last saw Jason Voorhees on the big screen. With this new Crystal Lake series seemingly focusing on Pamela, it doesn't seem like that's going to change anytime soon. I miss Jason, man! There are, however, some novels published by Black Flame, the same company that put out those Final Destination novels that we've covered on the page previously. One of them has an incredibly striking concept. In today's video, I want to break down Friday the 13th, The Church of the Divine Psychopath, a novel that details the story of a cult that worships Jason as an eternal and judgmental deity. This one is wild, folks. Now let's get into it. Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake, and instead of having friends, I have horror books? Just like with Final Destination, Jason Voorhees also got the original novelization treatment from Black Flame all the way back in 2005. It was a deal between New Line and Black Flame to publish a ton of novels based off of their biggest horror IPs. At the time, that was like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Final Destination. At some point in the future, I definitely want to break down more of these novels. The goal here was to also come up with outlandish concepts that the movies had not tried to tackle yet. Church of the Divine Psychopath is the first of 5 Friday the 13th novels, and the company even published 5 novels solely based on Jason X. We definitely will get to those too. Divine Psychopath follows a few different groups of people though. Walter Hobb, a disgraced member of the Special Forces group searching for Jason to execute him. The Ministry of the Heavenly Vessel, led by Father Eric Long, a cult posing as an offshoot of Christianity that plans to resurrect Jason Voorhees, and members of their congregation, including Kelly Mills and Meredith Host. Kelly and Meredith have some dark backgrounds that probably shouldn't be talked about in a YouTube video. To put it in layman's terms, they essentially went through some really rough stuff in their past, making them vulnerable to something like an awful cult that will brainwash them. Walter Hobb believes that this whole mission to go out and find Jason Voorhees is a fool's errand. He believes he's been assigned to this job because of a meth lab raid that he led and up. Father Long uses electricity to resurrect Jason like he's Victor Effin Frankenstein, and the machete-wielding corpse begins slaughtering his congregation, as all of us knew he would do. Father Long believes that Jason is some sort of fallen angel that is an instrument of God. He's been placed on Earth to purify sinners by killing them. This is such a fascinating character in this universe because that has always been a part of Jason, not only his immortality, but the victims he chooses to go after. Teenagers having sex before marriage, something the church frowns upon. Kelly gets the hell out of there and runs into the soldiers alongside Walter Hobb. Jason, of course, starts picking them off as Father Long essentially cheers him on from the sidelines. Walter Hobb's best friend Jeff Townsend dies during this incident, and he's thrown into this like mass grave that the ministry uses to dump its corpses. Sounds like a really fun cult to be a part of. You might end up in the body pit. Once again, there is a subplot involving SA with the character of Meredith. I don't really want to detail all of that, but what I will say is that based on some of the reviews of the novel, it says that it balances dark humor really well with some of its more tender subject matter. That's a hard line to walk, and it's impressive that this novel is able to balance both of those things. I mean, it's Friday the 13th after all. This is gonna get silly at some points, and it does, just you wait. This mission has become personal for Hobb, who lays siege upon Crystal Lake. The remaining members of the congregation fight the Special Forces, with Jason massacring as many people on both sides as he can. This book is apparently a prequel to Jason Goes to Hell, and you can feel that especially in this scene. This reminds me a lot of the opening of that film. Father Long ends up going before Jason to be judged by God's graces or whatever, and Jason, of course, slaughters him. Thinking his soul is being purified or something like that, his last words are "Praise be to God in all his wisdom." The novel's second climax definitely feels a little more Friday the 13th feeling, where the rest of this has been pretty bizarre. Kelly undresses down to her underwear to lure Jason into a trap. Does that not feel super meta? Like the scene in Jason X where you have the two girls saying, "We're gonna have premarital sex." Jason easily falls for this, thinking that teenagers are gonna bone on his property, not on his watch, and Hobbs takes him out. He ends up knocking Jason into that body pit, which is sort of thematic here, but it does get a little ridiculous when he blows up the grave pit with a grenade launcher. Holy shit. In a short denouement, Jason's body parts and of course his mask are recovered by Hobb, who places them in government custody. Could you see a scene at the end of this similar to Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they're like packaging all of his body parts into different crates and pushing them down this bizarre government warehouse? Maybe Freddy's glove and the Necronomicon are in there too. That could be fun. Kelly and Hobb are the only two survivors, and they essentially drive off into the sunset. Unfortunately, Meredith was killed even after everything she had gone through. Unfortunately, no, there is no last-minute stinger scare, but admittedly, that would be really hard to do in the form of a novel. But if this was a film, I feel like it could work. Not everything, but some things. Father Eric Long being this insane secondary antagonist would be a sick subplot to work into a new movie or even the TV show. I really like the idea that people in this universe have their own different speculations on why Jason is immortal. Father Long is evil and brainwashing his ill-fated members of his church, but he really does believe that Jason is some sort of divine power. I mean, he's literally praising God as Jason executes him. What a fascinating villain to add into this series. I also like the idea of special forces getting involved trying to take Jason out. It feels very meta and very world building. It kind of suggests that all the other movies are canon too. I mean, after the serial killer keeps coming back to life and killing more camp counselors, eventually the government is gonna get involved. Maybe this story, just like Jason Goes to Hell, is a little convoluted, maybe even a little too complex for this slasher series, but I think there are some really cool ideas here that could be utilized in a more simpler story. The cult, for example, would be my biggest thing to focus on. Considering Damien Leone's interest in this franchise and his incorporation of religion into the Terrifier series, I think this would be such a great direction for his version of Friday the 13th to potentially take. Could you see David Howard Thornton playing the cult leader too? He would finally get some speaking roles in a Damien Leone film. Man, that would be awesome. We just gotta get the film rights figured out, dude. Someone has to do that. Well, in the meantime, we have a new Jason-themed horror house at Halloween Horror Nights. It's not a new movie, but it's something, right? Right? We also got an update on Peacock's Crystal Lake series today, learning that Devin Kessler, Cameron Scogins, and Gwendolyn Sundstrom have all joined the cast. Cameron Scogins is actually playing a younger version of the cop that we saw at the end of the original Friday the 13th.
Ma'am, we didn't find any boy.
Then he's still there.
I'm keeping my hopes high for that series. I hope it's a good return to this franchise that we so desperately need. Maybe one day we'll get a film that incorporates some of these weird ideas. Hey everybody, before we wrap up today's video, please make sure to subscribe to Killjoy Jake for more crazy horror updates just like this. Thank you all for your support, and also don't forget to check out my gaming channel GullGotha, where we're playing a bunch of spooky horror games like Repo, Dead by Daylight, and Alien Isolation. The link for that is in the description below. Thank you all again for watching, please subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.